I work at a small corner store about a block away from my new apartment that I just moved into about a month ago. It's usually a pretty quiet and calm area, which I love. However, I'm starting to consider moving into a different area. You'll understand why in a sec. So I was at work. I had about an hour left to my shift and it really wasn't all that busy, so I was kind of just sitting at the counter, staring at the time on the computer screen. 57, 58, 59, 804, 1, 2. I looked up from the clock to see who just walked in. It was a middle-aged woman, very dirty, with knotted blonde hair and a white t-shirt dress that looked like it had not been washed in days. I looked back at the clock. 8:06. Damn it, I muttered under my breath. The woman just stood there. She seemed very confused. How can I help you? She just looked at me, so I knew she heard me. Is there something I can help you with? I rephrased. She walked over to the counter, still continuing to stare. Now, I'm already the paranoid person to begin with, so when I started to feel unnerved, it was weird, but at the same time, it was still normal. I glanced at the clock again after the awkward staring continued for what felt like a very long time. 8:14. Is there something I can help you with? I repeated. I was the only one on that shift, so there really wasn't anything else I could do. After what felt like an hour, she turned around and walked out. I looked at the clock with the hope that a lot of time had passed. 8:27. Damn it. Fast forward to when I actually left. I was driving home with the music blasting. I was probably paying more attention to my music than I should have been, which is why I literally screamed when I noticed someone dart out into the middle of the road, forcing me to floor at the brake. I paused, shaking, trying to steady my breath. That's when I noticed her. It was her, the same woman. I beeped the horn and rolled down the window. She stared for a minute before running off. Luckily, I could see my apartment at this point, so I didn't have to drive that far. I was exhausted when I got home, but still on edge. I fell on the couch, turned on the TV, and ended up passing out in about 20 minutes. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I noticed that all of the lights and the TV were off. I didn't remember turning them off. I also noticed that the floor seemed a lot messier than it was before. It was too dark to really get a good look, but I took note of the fact that it looked like there were messed up feathers littered across my living room floor. When I looked up, I realized that the light from the building next to my apartment that was lighting up the feathers was coming from my now broken window. I stared at the window for a few minutes. I was more confused than concerned, wondering if that's why I woke up. And that's when I heard the floor creak behind me. I tried to turn around to get a better look. Nothing. I couldn't move. The only thing that I could move was my eyes. The creaking got closer and closer, and then it stopped, and I could just feel it. I could sense it. Whoever was there was right behind the couch at that point, and there was nothing I could do about it. Something then started falling on my chest. Feathers. Sticky, wet, dirty feathers. The creaking then started to move to the other side of the couch. I could see her at this point. It was that fucking woman. It was dark, but she looked injured a lot worse than before. She got closer. Her eyes were red and bloodshot. She hovered over me at this point. I tried to scream, but I couldn't. I was frozen. She then yelled out this incredibly high-pitched scream that didn't seem humanly possible. That's when I was finally able to scream, and I also realized that I was able to move again. The room also seemed normal. The window, the floor, they were all normal. The woman was gone. The TV had that little symbol on the screen indicating that it automatically shut off, so I assumed that might have been the same thing that happened with the lights. I looked around again. I was starting to believe that was just a freak sleep paralysis episode. The floor then started creaking again, and I got the urge to vomit. I looked to my right, and the little hallway-like kitchen light was on. There was a wall separating the kitchen from the living room, so I couldn't see what was in there. Panicking, I grabbed my keys next to me as some sort of weapon, which I kind of realized was pointless since they were near my kitchen knives. All of a sudden, I heard glass shatter on my floor, and that's when I made a mad dash for the door. When I realized that I had forgotten to grab my phone, I ran to my neighbor's apartment and banged on the door repeatedly for a good 10 minutes until they finally opened up. What? They didn't seem to like the fact that I was banging on their door at 2 in the morning. Weird. I screamed that someone was in my apartment and that I needed help. When the cops arrived after a long 8 minutes, they did a thorough search of my apartment, which didn't take long at all since it wasn't a big place. Not surprisingly, they told me whoever had been in there had fled, but they also said to give a call back if anything else came up. I was worn out, but there was no way that I could sleep, so I went over to the kitchen to start eating my feelings, and I noticed the floor. There were dirty, messed up feathers on the floor, the same as what I had seen before when I was having sleep paralysis. However, this time the lights were on, and I got a better look at the feathers. The stained red, shiny, wet feathers next to the fake roses and broken vase that used to sit on my kitchen counter. I spent the rest of that night in my car. I haven't gotten a decent sleep since then, and I'm still very confused. If anything else happens, I'll keep you updated.